Imagine having an aim so good, people accuse you of cheating. Constantly getting messages about your progress. People trash talking you all day long. Sounds fun, right? Well, that is exactly what you will have at the end of this video. The knowledge to perfect your settings in Vigor and become the next threat of the Outlands. Because today we are talking about settings. And I'm going to tell you what each setting does and how they correspond to each other. Now, I could just give you an overview of my own settings, but that's not going to help you. Because every person is different and everybody plays different. We play with different controllers on different consoles and with different latencies. We all have different playing styles and reaction times. And just like in sports, some of you are just better than the rest of us.
Ouch!
First, we have our basic settings, like vibration and the aim and sprint toggle option. Leave the aim and sprint at their default, but turn off the vibration. It is an unnecessary distraction in Vigor. We have 3 sets of sensitivities. We have first person mode, we have third person mode, and we have our free look, or just look sensitivity. You want to have your free look as high as possible, so you can quickly turn the camera to spot enemies, and make your character turn around when you aim with your gun. Most people keep this at 90 to 100, but it's fine if you keep it a little bit lower. Your third person aim is when you hold down your left trigger. And this is where you want to have some precision. Tweaking this will all come back in the advanced setting when we talk about aim ramp up. Depending on how well you can control your aim, you should have this around 30 to 60. Don't set it too slow because you want to be able to track your enemies that get really close. And if you can't handle a higher sensitivity, learn to engage your enemy at medium or long range, but keep them at medium range so that you can keep the advantage. First person aim. That's for our scopes and our iron sights. Best is to keep this pretty low, below the 30s actually. And again, we have a great setting in our advanced menu where we can tweak this. By default, Vigor keeps your Y sensitivity higher than your X sensitivity. This gets compensated later in the ramp up settings, but I still prefer to keep my Y sensitivities lower than my X sensitivity. Aim assist. You can choose to turn this on or off at your personal preference. Most FPS games on console will have aim assist, and I keep this on myself as well. But there are so many people who do great without aim assist. And in the long run, it is better not to have to rely on it. The latest update also changed the aim assist to make it a bit less sticky? I don't know. I'm actually glad that they made a change because my aim has actually improved. I still keep it on, but it is a lot less noticeable. Next we have the movement dead zones. But first, what are dead zones? Dead zones are areas on your joystick that do not register input. We have an inner dead zone for the activation of the input, and we have an outer dead zone for reaching the maximum threshold of input. Setting your inner dead zone as low as possible will give you a quick reaction time, but if you set it too low, you might get stick drift. Setting the outer dead zone to the highest setting will give you more room to maneuver your stick, but it will take longer before you reach the maximum threshold. Why this is so important, I will tell you in a minute when we talk about the actual aim settings. Playing around with the inner and outer values will give you a different feel as you move your thumb on your stick, but it's going to be up to you to decide what feels best. Personally, I suggest staying below the 20 for the inner dead zone, if your sticks can still handle that, and keeping your outer dead zone around 75 to 85. Move Exponent. This is supposed to change the way your movement feels when you move your stick. Personally, I don't really notice any difference if I keep this at 1 or at 5. Aiming ramp ups. Now we are going to get into the core of the actual aiming settings. We have an X and a Y ramp up, and they are directly related to the sensitivities that we set at the start of this video. What these are going to do is increase the speed of our camera and aim as we move our right thumbstick. If you set this to 1, your speed when turning the camera will always be the same no matter what. And this actually makes everything a bit slow. By default, these are set to be ×2 or higher, which is good for free look, but not always for our actual aim. Unfortunately, we do not have a separate ramp up for each of the 3 aiming modes, so whatever we pick here will apply to all 3 of them. Again, I like to keep my Y ramp up lower than my X ramp up, as most of the movement in Vigor is horizontal. Even the jump-shotting bunnies are moving more horizontal than they are vertical. And it's going to help you control your recoil a lot easier as you can pull down harder on the stick. The only thing you won't be able to track is somebody jumping over you. But you're still better off using your horizontal speed to turn around and catch them as they land. Or you just abort and run for cover. Aim acceleration delay. Another advanced setting that is going to make or break a good setup. What this does is basically delay the ramp up speed. Meaning that if you set this to 1 second, it's going to take 1 second before the ramp up actually starts. And although the description talks about seconds, the actual setting is going to be in milliseconds. Milliseconds is also what is used to express latency in the game, and in other games. So the following settings may vary a lot depending on how good your reflexes are. If you set this to 0.6, that is actually more than half a second before the ramp up starts, while the average human reaction time is around 0.3. Next up is the acceleration time. And what this does is it tells the ramp up how long it should take before it reaches maximum speed. Compare this to a car that goes from 0 to 100. If you set the speed to 0.4 and the delay to 0, your speed will go up right away at a consistent rate. But if you set the delay to 0.2 and the speed to 0.2, it will have a short pause and then go up really quickly. These two settings are basically going to tweak your window of opportunity to kill your enemy, and you need to be able to stay on target during the duration and actually avoid the ramp up a little bit so you don't overshoot your aim and lose your target. It's all about finding that sweet spot. Are you still following? Because it's getting a little bit complicated. But wait, there's more.
Hello.
When do these settings actually kick in? Well, remember those dead zones we talked about earlier? The outer dead zone? When the stick reaches the outer dead zone, it will have achieved maximum threshold. And that's when the delay and the ramp up speed kick in. But we got another setting, and that is acceleration decay. The description says, seconds for dissipation of extra speed. Dissipation basically means the extra speed going away. And this setting is going to tell the game how long it should take before the ramp-up speed goes back down to its basic 1 value. You could compare this to a drag race. If you've ever seen one, you know that at the end of the race, a little parachute pops open from the car to slow it down. This decay is basically the parachute. And depending on what you set in your previous values, this can be used to smoothen out your aim a little bit. But for me, it only meant that I was losing my targets and overshooting them. And by default this is set to 0.4, which is actually quite high, because it means it's going to take about half a second before your ramp up speed goes back down, after your stick leaves the outer dead zone. I think this is a setting that a lot of new players struggle with and throws off their aim. I keep the decay at 0, so that when I stop using my stick, my aim slows down tremendously when I got on target. And now we've reached the aiming dead zones. They're basically the same as the movement dead zones, but for the right stick. Again, don't set the inner one too low or you will get sticky. Keeping the values far enough from each other allows you to have enough room for your stick to move in without hitting the dead zones. But the outer dead zone becomes important for all those previous settings we just mentioned. Do you want to set it lower so you activate the ramp up sooner? Or do you keep it really high so you drop out of the acceleration quicker? And now we've come to our last two settings. The first one is the aim exponent, which is a bit like the movement exponent. But with this setting you actually feel a difference, or at least I do. Setting this to 5 will actually make your aim feel a bit choppy and unnatural. But depending on what games you played before, this could work out for you. So I definitely suggest you try this one out. Most people tend to stick between 2 and 3 for this one. And then we also have the zoom exponent. And this is actually a really good setting for our first person aim. One that could make a huge difference in your sniping capabilities. The lower you set it, the faster your crosshair will actually move in the first person mode. While raising this will actually add weight to your first person aim, making it slower. This is going to depend a lot on the range that you are engaging, so it might be best to switch this one depending on your weapon and map. I would set it higher when you play longer range encounters, but I would lower it if you play on shorter ranges like elimination or shootout games. Well, we have reached the end of the video, and I'm not going to keep you all waiting any longer for what you were actually clicking on this video for. and that is an overview of my own settings. But like I said at the start of the video, these are not guaranteed to work for you. However, now you have the knowledge you need to tweak these to your personal preference. And I know it's been a lot of information at a very short time, so here is a quick overview of what everything is. We have our sensitivities, which act as a base value. We have our ramp up and our exponent, which acts as multipliers. And then we have our acceleration time, delay, and decay, which act as variables for those multipliers. So if you look at it like that, it's actually quite easy. If you found this video helpful, all I would ask is that you leave a like. If you are interested in future content, be sure to subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time. Bye!